Well, good morning. Thanks for being here. Earlier this week, we kind of talked about those four keys of attitudes that we can take that develop a connection to other people. So, happiness for people who are happy, compassion for those who are struggling, honor for those who embody noble qualities, and equanimity or even mindedness around those who agitate or oppose us. I also wanted to bring in this is from the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Narada was a sage, and bhakti, of course, means devotion. And this whole text is devoted to cultivating that sense of bhakti flow or devotional love flow through our lives. And I just wanted to read you a short excerpt here of a couple of sutras that talks about how to achieve or how to cultivate this bhakti in our lives. And this first sutra is Sutra 34. It says that the great teachers sing of the means of development of bhakti, that one achieves bhakti by giving up sense gratification and mundane association. One achieves bhakti by worshiping the Lord ceaselessly, and we'll talk a little bit more about that this morning. One achieves bhakti by hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord's special qualities, even while engaged in the ordinary activities of this world. Primarily, however, one develops bhakti by the mercy of great souls or by a small drop of the Lord's mercy. And I really like that, by a small drop of the Lord's mercy. But I promised we would talk a little bit more about what it means to worship the Lord ceaselessly. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. As we look at these sutras and we talk about singing and chanting and hearing the qualities of the Supreme or the Supreme Lord or the Divine, that doesn't necessarily mean sitting around thinking, oh, the Lord is omniscient, the Lord is omnipresent. I mean, it could be that, but it could also be watching the way that the snow glistens as you walk past and just noticing its qualities of beauty and aliveness. If all things, by the philosophical standard, if all things are some kind of facet of the oneness that is the divine or that is love, then anytime we admire or give our devoted attention to the details of some kind of aspect of creation, we're actually describing and honoring those qualities of the Supreme. So this could also be like hearing a piece of music and really delighting in it and kind of feeling that out and allowing it to flow through us. It could be honoring the qualities of people who do the right thing. It could be offering compassion and trying as hard as we can to see the divine that is within each living being, even if it's a person who challenges us or a situation that is difficult for us to work through. So another way that we can ceaselessly worship the Lord, and we've brought this up before, is simply through the act of breathing and being conscious of our breath. Receiving inhales in, receiving aliveness in, receiving the gift of oxygen and prana and energetic nourishment with each inhale, and feeling the relief and freedom of releasing our breath after we've received it. So we receive it from wholeness and we give it back to wholeness. And this is something too that I've mentioned before that all living things do. All living things take something in from the environment, and all living things put something back out into the environment. And so this is one way that we can connect to all things and the oneness of all things, the interconnectedness that is inseparable between all things. So I thought we would do a little bit of that this morning as we come into our intentional seat for practice. We're first just going to find our way into that deeper stillness and find that sense of rooting or establishment in the self, in silence. Taking a moment to settle the body so we can come into a place of stillness. One of the goals of yoga, or the highest goal of yoga, is to be able to observe the movements and fluctuations of the mind and of the material world without being swept along by those movements, and simply being able to detach just enough to lovingly give our devoted attention to every aspect of our bodies, our minds, of our situation, without being moved by those movements. So finding that established stillness. We can start by observing the movements of breath, to take the very simple and basic act of breathing as a form of devotion and worship, to receive openly, just allowing the breath to flow in easily, no hindrances, nothing held back. And then to soften a little bit with each exhale. Maybe the shoulders relax down, maybe the weight settles a little bit more into the pelvis as we exhale. Feeling that sense of expansion and opening to as we breathe in, and surrendering to as we breathe out. We might also hear the breath chanting that mantra of Atha, which means now, now, bringing us into the presence, not only the present moment, but the presence of that saintliness or that divine essence. With your next inhale, begin to bring the heart forward and lift the chin, drop the shoulders back just by softening them, letting gravity pull them down and back as you shift the heart forward. And just take a few breaths here with this openness in the chest. Opening again up to all that is, holding nothing back, even welcoming the challenges into our lives. And on your next exhale, start by dropping the chin down towards the chest and allowing the shoulders to fall softly forward as we reach the heart back and behind us, opening the back body. I'm just taking a few breaths here now with the back body open. That we are always open in some way, even when we don't recognize it. I'm taking a moment here to see all that glory and beauty, all that we offer our devotion to, not only outside of us, but also within us, watching the miracle of our heart and lungs and our body functioning, watching the miracle of our ability to forgive ourselves and others, to find and develop the capacity for compassion. Then inhale again, come back into a aligned spine, head, heart, and tailbone aligned. And then let's open the right side of the body by leaning over to the left. Maybe that right arm sweeps up and over. And just feel the right side body open as the left side body compresses. So even as we open to the right, we're reaching to the left. Through the crown of the head, maybe through that right arm. Good. Bring that right hand down to the left knee and then align the spine again. So we're coming back to hover the crown over the tailbone. Left arm might come behind the body to open our heart as effortlessly as we can, just by simply shifting our heart in that direction. So let your weight settle into your pelvis again. Turn the head to look over the left shoulder. Feel the twist rise up into the head and neck. Then we're going to lead with the head. First, turning the head now to look over the right shoulder. Then shifting the heart back to face forward. Take a full breath in and out, maybe 2 or 3 here. Stillness, balance, even-mindedness, alignment. Then we'll open the left side body by leaning to the right. Again, that left arm might come up and over here. We might just be reaching through the crown of the head. But even as we open to the left, we're reaching to the right. Moving again into our twist. Left hand comes down to the right knee. We hover the head over the heart and the pelvis again. Right arm comes behind the body. And just by opening ourselves in a new direction, we expand the heart center. We settle back into the hips and the pelvis. Then draw the twist into the head and neck by looking over the right shoulder. Then leading with the gaze by first facing over the left shoulder, then bringing the heart back into alignment. Again, just take 2 or 3 breaths here, finding your stillness, finding your alignment. This week we've been doing a breathing and motion action to cultivate this joy or cultivate this blissful love and devotion through a 3-part inhale and a long, slow exhale. So the first inhale, the arms come up in front of the shoulders. The second part of the inhale, we sweep out wide. The third part, we come up and bring the palms together, and then we take a long exhale. All 3 of those inhales coming out in this long exhale as we bring the hands to the heart center. So it's inhale, 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 exhale. Let's just do several rounds of this. Making sure that we're balancing out how much we breathe in with each inhale so that we're not tapped out before we get to the top. Moving slowly as we draw that into our heart centers, reaching out, reaching open, reaching up, and into the heart center. Let's do 2 more like that. And pausing again for stillness, just relaxing, finding neutral, finding the pelvis getting heavy into the floor. And use your hands to support behind your body to extend your legs long in front of you. We might use that bolster or whatever support we have on hand for our forward fold here. We can also just take an unsupported forward fold if you like. But we're basically just going to come to first lifting the heart and lifting the chin. So we have a lot of open space at the heart center and in the throat center. Then we're going to see if we can remain that whole length of the front body to kind of pull over the legs or over our support. Head can rest in the hands or on your support or just hang loosely. Chin will come into the chest and just feel that all that length from the front body starting to transfer now to the back body. We'll take about 5 breaths, either supported or unsupported in your fold. Practicing surrender. Practicing looking within and finding all that beauty from the outside world also reflected within ourselves. For your last breath here, fill the back body completely. Take the longest, slowest, deepest inhale you can. Pause at the top of your inhale. Just kind of retain that breath for just a moment. And then let it all out through the nose or the mouth, nice and slow, but be complete about your exhale. Then rising from our fold, we'll bring that support behind the body to take that back bend we talked about to open the heart. So the sacrum is kind of resting near or against the support here. We can recline back to let the heart be lifted. Head might also be supported here. And shoulders kind of rolling over the side of whatever support we're using. Soles of the feet might stay on the floor. You could also take a bound angle shape with the soles of the feet together and the knees wide, or the feet on the floor and knees falling together. So any of those options could work. You could also just extend the legs long. The focus here is on the lifted heart. See if you can recall that feeling of allowing the weight to fall into the pelvis, and see if you can still retain some of that sense of grounding here through the pelvic bowl. Notice that the more you relax and loosen the muscles, the more you can rely on the support that's below you, whether it's the floor or your props. And that in turn, the more we rely on that support that's behind us, the more we can open through the heart center. There's a verse in the Bible about leaning not to thy own understanding, but allowing yourself to be led by God. And in the same way, as we sort of lean back on the support that's behind us for love, The support for infinite compassion, infinite understanding, infinite forgiveness. As we rely on that, our hearts open. Of course, the more open we are, the more flow we invite into our lives. The more open we are, the more we can sort of stop and smell the roses, so to speak, noticing all the beautiful qualities that the divine expresses just in our everyday living. The snow, the sky, our animal friends, our people friends, all the beauty that's in the world. As we admire and devote ourselves to that, we also then devote ourselves to the divine. Take about 5 more very slow, patient breaths here. If you'd like to engage in those 3-part inhales and long, slow exhales, you can, or just taking slow, even, measured breath. Each exhale, let go of yourself a little bit more. Let yourself be supported. In whatever position you are in, we'll bring the soles of the feet back to the floor if they're not there already. And then just use your arms to gently and slowly rise up from your support. We're going to turn both knees now to that left side. Before we take a deer twist, we're kind of setting up for that. But before we take that deer twist, we're going to take the right hand and reach down towards the right shin or even the floor just beyond the right shin. And maybe even using that bolster or whatever support we have here to kind of press against to open this left side body. You can also swing up and over if you like. And again, just kind of open, maybe let the right ear fall closer to the right shoulder, kind of opening up that whole side body. And just like we did in our forward fold, we're going to take this full length now of that whole left side body and see if we can lay it on our side. We're not exactly twisting yet, but taking that length and laying it alongside the top of that support. Your left arm can be underneath your head. You can bend at the elbow to make like a little pillow. Then right arm can either rest along that right side of the body or again kind of come up and over. So we have a side bending shape here. But rather than kind of pushing into the floor or kind of reaching over, we're softening again into that support. In all of these poses or positions, as we let go, the more we let go, the more our heart is lifted and the more opening we can experience. This is us leaning not on our own capacity for compassion, but drawing on that infinite well of love. Two more breaths here. And wherever your right arm has landed, start to bring it to the right of your support. Kind of press your way up. And now we're twisting. So I'm facing the heart now, just past the end of your support. And then again, first lifting and creating some length and space at the front of the body, and then allowing that full length to come down to your support. Now we're taking that deer twist shape. Knees and nose can be same or opposite directions. We're going to take about 5 breaths once we find our position to settle into that support. Notice again that the more we let go, the more the heart is supported and lifted. When we rely on our individual egos and our individual perspectives, we often fall a little short of infinite love. I know I do. So I'm practicing here just kind of letting go. Letting that infinite love be supported, not through my own capacity, but by relying on the infinite source. When you feel ready to rise again, just turn the palms down, press your way up, start to untwist the body back to facing forward and away from your support. We could rock the knees maybe side to side, and then we'll come to letting both knees now fall to the right. So again, we're taking that side bending shape first. So left hand's gonna come toward the left shin or maybe onto the floor just in front of the left shin. Right hand can press into your support or lean up and over. But we're opening up that whole right side body now. Maybe left ear drops toward that left shoulder to open. And see if we can transfer that whole length of the right side body down onto our support again. Arm might be straight underneath us or bend at the elbow to create a little pillow for the head. Left arm can rest along that left side of the body or just kind of softly come up and behind the head here. So we're relaxing into this shape. Feel your weight settling in the pelvis again. That bottom right hip magnetized to the floor. Feel how the more we let go to the shape of the support, the more opening we have and the more lift we have in the heart center. Letting our heart be open to listen for guidance on our actions. We've all experienced that little still small voice. Sometimes we wish to ignore it, but it doesn't really go away even though it's quiet. And sometimes that very voice is the saving grace we need to gracefully transform a situation. Just a few more breaths here. See how much more you can let go in these last couple of breaths. And that left hand will come to the outside of our support. We'll start to press up enough to shift our heart in the direction of our support. First, lifting the heart and the chin, taking all of that length in the front body and transferring it down to our support. And once again, finding our deer twist shape, softening, taking several rounds of breath to allow ourselves to be lifted, to cultivate not action here, but rather allowing. Taking these last 3 or 4 breaths in this shape to see how much we can soften and let go to it. Take the shape not of our individuality, but to more closely resemble that shape of infinite love, unconditional love. And again, as you are ready to come out of the shape, just press your way back upright again. We'll slowly turn again to face the front of the mat. And maybe just give the knees a little side-to-side rocking here. We're going to come next to standing, and you can bring your whatever support you're using near to the top of your mat. We may or may not use that later, but just to have it handy might be a nice option. And we'll just come to standing into Tadasana, our mountain pose at the top of the mat. We're going to take a couple of these same shapes in the body, sort of an open front body, an open back body, and each of the open side bodies here. So at the front of the mat, we're going to lift our heart and our chin. Arms might also reach up and slightly behind the body, or you could bring the hands behind toward the sacrum to support ourselves here in this lift. Just take a couple of breaths. Then we're going to see if we can transfer that length in the front body first by tucking the chin, then allowing the shoulders to fall in front of the body, lifting the back of the heart as we roll down into a forward fold. Take several breaths here. See how long you can allow the back of the neck and the spine to become. Keep a little bit of that softness and surrender in the back of the knees. On your next inhale, we're going to lift the back of the heart and then let it slowly roll our way up. So arms are just heavy as we roll. Gently shift the shoulders to the back body so that the heavy arms are kind of pulling the shoulders down and back as we come back to standing. On an inhale, right arm sweeps up and then over. Left hand could support at the hip or reach down for the left knee. Couple of breaths here. Good. Inhale back to center and down. Left arm sweeps up and over. Right hand can again come to right hip or reach downward toward the right knee. Couple of breaths with this side of the body open. Good. Inhale, come back to center and release. We're going to shift our weight into the right foot, pulling the right knee up towards the chest, or excuse me, left knee up towards the chest. And just kind of gently lifting, maybe rolling that left ankle a little bit. Then using the right hand to the outside of that left knee, we're just going to gently guide the left knee over towards the right side. Perhaps that left arm comes out to the left to kind of counterbalance for a standing awkward twist here. Opening our heart to the left side, even as we pull the knee to the right. Take a couple of breaths. This can also be taken with that left leg extended if you like. Good. Exhale, untwist, and replace your left foot on the mat. And shake out the body, release any tension. Find your steadiness again, and bring your weight into the left foot. Right knee is going to come in towards the chest this time. Taking just a moment here to find your balance on your left leg. Maybe rotating that right ankle this time. Left hand at the outside of that right knee, gently guiding that right knee to the left. Right arm comes out to the right. And we're opening our heart to that right side, even as the knee comes to the left. Feel the awkwardness and the effort. Good. 2 more breaths if you can. Releasing the right foot back to the floor as we untwist, kind of softening any tension in the body. Then 1 more lift upward, heart lifts, chin lifts. Exhale, we fold forward again, standing forward fold. Taking a few breaths to let the spine naturally lengthen. Softness in the knees. Then bending a little more at the knees to plant the palms, stepping back into our first downward facing dog. So we've begun to already extend the backs of the legs a little bit through our folding. Take a few breaths here in downward facing dog. Come back to that heavy head, that elongated neck. Press a little bit more into the floor, let it support you. Next, inhale, right leg lifts. As we exhale, right knee comes in towards the nose, cat arch. Inhale, lift and extend, flatten out the back. Exhale, coil under. 2 more like that. Then 1 more lift, and we'll step that right foot forward to the top of the mat, dropping the left knee behind us into our low lunge. Let's take a heart opener here, either by pressing into the floor, pressing into the thigh, raising the hands, or supporting behind you. Heart is lifted, hips are low. 2 more breaths here. On your exhale, frame your right toes again. Shift your right foot over towards the left side of the mat. Right knee falls open to the right. We have our pigeon shape here. So the reason that we have our bolster here near the mat is if you like to use that as a support in front of your body. Maybe the forearms rest here. Maybe we just use this to heighten the lift of the heart. You can also let the chin come to the chest and lift the back of the heart using your bolster. So that's an option you can take. And we're seeing here how much we can surrender through the hips. See if we can still feel that same heaviness, that attraction between our hips and the earth. Either the front or the back of the heart is open, whichever you've chosen. Kind of give it a little extra lift, even as you surrender the hips a little more.
more breaths. Find that sense of allowing. And start to neutralize your spine, maybe using your hands against the floor or your bolster to walk that back knee up a little bit, back towards the center of the mat. Both knees on the mat. Now we're just going to drop the hands to the outside edge of our bolster support and just kind of let the head fall between the shoulders. See if you can gently pull your shoulders apart. So the head is kind of hovering, back body is open. 2 more breaths here. Good. Bringing the hands back underneath the shoulders for tabletop. You can leave your prop there if it's not in your way. Tucking the toes and coming back through downward facing dog. See if we can create sort of that same sensation in the back where the shoulder blades are pulled apart and the arms are far from the shoulders. So we're kind of pressing in to lengthen the arms. Head is still heavy and kind of hanging between the shoulders. On an inhale, left leg rises. On our exhale, left knee comes under as we cat arch. Inhale, lift. Exhale, coil. 2 more. Inhale, 1 more lift. Exhale, left hand steps between the hands, or left foot steps between the hands. Right knee drops. And then we're going to find that lift again. So hips are sinking low. Hands are either pressing into the floor, maybe that support, maybe the knee. Arms might rise, or we have that support at the low back as we lift the heart and the chin and allow the hips to sink low. Two more slow, patient breaths here as we receive that divine guidance and surrender to it. On an exhale, we come back to palms on the mat to allow the left foot to walk towards the right side of the mat to find our pigeon pose on this side. Left knee falling open to the left. Perhaps optionally using that support from the front of the mat here. Either to allow us to lift the heart a little higher or to rest the forearms on. Chin might be at the chest. So back or front of the heart can be open here. Offer your surrender through the hips, reaching for the earth. Create a little bit more lift in either the front or the back of the heart, whichever is more expanded in this moment. Each inhale we receive. We are filled up and saturated. Each exhale we give ourselves back in equal measure. That whatever we receive, we also give out. Holding nothing for ourselves except for the joy of being a vessel. Cultivating the flow of love through us. Coming back to a more neutral spine. We're going to start to bring that right knee back towards the center of the mat a little bit. Left knee comes next to the right. And we're reaching for the outside edge of our support, whether that's blankets or a pillow or whatever we're using. And then just opening up the shoulders away from the center of the spine, just letting the head hang between the arms. Open back body here. One more lift forward here as we inhale. Chin lifts, We might rest the forearms on the bolster and then just kind of walk the knees back a little bit so the pelvis is coming down towards the floor. If the bolster is not helpful to you, you can just kind of scoot it out of the way and allow the forearms to rest on the floor. Chin is slightly lifted, shoulders are down and back, heart is facing forward. You could also come to resting on the bolster if you're using it this way. You're still getting that little arch in the back of the spine. Two more breaths in whatever version you're practicing. Good, then bringing your hands to support you. We'll come back through tabletop shape. Once we're stable and steady here, we can kind of scoot our support out of the way for the moment. Tucking the toes, coming back through downward facing dog. Excuse me. So we're going to step 1 foot forward towards the top of the mat. That's going to allow you to face the long edge of your mat. So depending on where your screen is and how you're following along, whichever foot wants to step towards the top of the mat so you can turn and face the long edge. We're in a wide-legged forward fold now. Maybe gently shifting hips side to side, finding a balance between the two. Softness and surrender still at the back of the knees, even as we have that firm foundation in the 4 corners of the foot. Big toe, pinky toe, both sides of the heel. Letting the head get heavy and low again here. Place the right palm down on the floor just underneath your head, and then lift into a flat back halfway. So we're pulling the tailbone away from the crown. Then roll open to the left. So left arm might be reaching upward. It might be on the hip, but we're lengthening through a flat back here. You're gonna feel that inner right thigh, experiencing some sensation. Cultivate enough staying power, devotion to this pose for the next 3 breaths. Slow your breath down, be patient. On that last exhale, swing the left arm down, let it change places with the right, right underneath the face, keeping that flat back, roll open to the right now. Trying to maintain our commitment to this pose for another 2 or 3 breaths here. Continuing to have that softness in the knees, even as we apply effort to lengthen the spine. On an exhale, we'll release that right arm down, coming back into our soft and rounded spine as we hang the head towards the floor. Bending just a little bit more into the knees here. We're going to start to hinge the body upwards. So we're going to come to standing up in a wide-legged stance. Toes can be a little bit wider than the heels now. We're going to take a little variation, a little hybrid between our goddess pose and our 3-part breath of joy. So as you recall, the first breath in, arms come forward. Second breath in, arms come wide. Third breath in, arms come up and overhead. And this time as we exhale, rather than just dropping the arms, we're gonna sink into a goddess pose and hold for 3 breaths. So we're gonna inhale, 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 exhale, 3 slow, patient breaths. As we inhale, straighten the legs, arms come forward, outward, upward. Exhale, 3 breaths. Three more like that. Inhale, legs straighten. Inhale, inhale, inhale.
Exhale, 3 breaths. Opening your heart even as the hips sink low. Good. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, 3 breaths. Good. All right, legs straighten, arms out, wide, up. Last round. Exhale, 3 breaths. Maybe support yourself with your arms on your thighs. This time as we inhale, legs straighten. We're gonna turn toward whatever the front of the mat is. Arms are gonna come down. We're gonna step that front foot back again into downward facing dog. Opening up the back of the heart, shoulder blades broaden, head hangs heavy, soft surrender in the knees. As we exhale, knees are going to come back down towards the floor into table. We'll inhale into the back body. Exhale, let the hips sink back towards the heels. Find child's pose. Take about 5 slow rounds of breath here. Offering your surrender. Cultivating those noble qualities within ourselves, or recognizing ways that we are already expressing wholeness through our thoughts, our words, or our actions. Taking that good, long, solid look inside the self. Last breath in here, fill up the back body completely, and then pause, just retain your breath for a moment. Exhale through the nose or the mouth. Rising back through table, letting the knees come out to one side to bring the sitting bones back to the floor. We'll swing the legs in front of the body. If you still have your prop or your support handy and nearby, you might bring that underneath the calves here. You don't have to, but you can. Then we're just gonna roll on down to the back. So maybe tucking chin to chest, letting the shoulders come in front of the heart, and then slowly, 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 maybe supporting yourself and allowing the body to come down, transferring that length from the back body completely down to the mat. Find your alignment, lifting and lowering sacrum, shoulders, and skull until you feel an effortless ease in the body. We're going to take a similar pose to our standing twist without as much trouble with our balance this time. So left knee is going to draw in towards the heart here. Maybe hands come to wrap around. We might turn that left ankle a few times, rotating the foot on the shin. Then let your left arm come out wide, and see if you can kind of root and ground through that left shoulder into the floor, even as your right hand at the outside of your left knee gently guides the left knee over towards the right. It may not come anywhere near the floor, that's okay. Just soften a little bit into that twist. Stay rooted through the left shoulder. Just let the weight of your right hand kind of help guide your knee over to the right side of the mat. Two more breaths here.
Releasing the right hand from the left knee. Maybe allow that left knee to come out wide a little bit. Perhaps the left hand supports underneath the left knee, or even the left hand could offer a little weight, just a little, to the inside of the left knee now. Releasing both hands from the knees now and just allowing the left leg to come back either flat or resting on your bolster. Reestablish that effortless alignment from head to heart to tailbone. Take a couple of breaths in stillness, watching the beautiful prayer of our breath, that ceaseless connection to the divine as we breathe in and then release our breath back. Eventually, the right knee comes in towards the chest. Perhaps the hands wrap around that knee. We might rotate the right ankle now. Then right arm is going to come out wide to a T shape, just grounding through that right shoulder. Left hand comes to the outside of that right knee as we gently guide it towards the left side of the mat. And again, our goal is not to reach the floor here. Our goal is just simply to create a opposition between the shoulders and the hips. So grounding through the right shoulder and then pulling the right hip towards the left. A few more rounds of slow, patient breaths here. Releasing the left hand from the right knee. Left arm comes out to that T shape again, and then right knee falls open to the right. Perhaps the right hand comes to support underneath that right knee, or again, gently applying a little bit of weight or gentle pressure on the inside of that right knee to come a little wider. Releasing any binding of the right knee now, both arms coming out wide, and just replacing the right leg either on the floor or back onto your bolster support. Take a few breaths here to reestablish your alignment. And when you feel balanced and settled and aligned, take a few slow, deep breaths in, kind of intentionally lengthening the breath. We'll settle into whatever our rest pose is going to be. If you need to make an adjustment to your position to be comfortable for the next 10 minutes or so, feel free to make those adjustments. The secret of yoga really comes down to one thing. It is that we are all that one thing. That everything we see, everything we feel, everything we know is not separate with its own list of qualities, but is actually part of that wholeness. We have Sanskrit phrases like aham brahmasmi, that within me, or I am the supreme, that we are not separate. We have tat tvam asi, thou art that. So we acknowledge not only that we are a part of that wholeness, but we can offer that same blessing or that same truth to another, that thou art also that wholeness or that truth. Feel that breath flowing in.
And that breath flowing back out, that we are not a separate thing, but simply a temporary vessel through which this love, through which this perfection and divinity, this sacredness flows. The more that we release tension, the more that we can find a sense of expansiveness, both in our bodies and in our minds, the more freely this love can flow through us, the more freely our breath can flow through us. This is why we practice stretching and expanding. This is why we practice surrender. This is why we practice opening, so that we can realize through some metaphor or another this divine truth. Feel that free flowing of your breath. Receiving willingly, and in service, returning that breath back to where it came from. from wholeness to wholeness, through wholeness. This is the journey of yoga, from the self to the self, through the self. And recognizing that sameness, that oneness in ourselves and all others as one complete being. Feel the interconnectedness of our breath and plants and other animals and other living things, the way we all share and rotate this energy, making us all indistinguishable from a distance. Begin to deepen that breath, longer inhales, longer, more generous exhales. As you feel ready for subtle movements, on your next inhale, start to find some kind of expanded shape depending on the rest pose you've taken. This might mean lengthening the arms or the limbs or just lengthening the spine. Feeling that sense of expansion through the heart, that cultivation and receiving of infinite love into ourselves, using your exhales to send that love back out. And again, depending on the shape that you are in or the shape that you've taken, start to pull or draw that energy inward towards the heart. So that might look like coiling up. It might look like just wrapping the arms around and grasping for each shoulder as we kind of draw that into our heart centers. And find your way from wherever you are into a sideline shape. Once you arrive there, take 3 breaths to really allow your body to relax fully into the floor. That leaning not onto our own understanding, but by surrendering ourselves fully, willingly, with devotion, with a sense of love and purpose, to allowing that light and love to flow through us, to allow ourselves an expression, to be an expression of completeness rather than individuality. Taking your last breath in that sideline shape, full breath in, feeling your body and heart expand, full breath out, letting go, and allowing that surrender, that devotion to become action by gently rising back to an upright seat. Just as we did at the beginning of class, find that heaviness, that anchoring and stillness. Allow your body to move and adjust so you can really let go into the floor. Soften and relax your shoulders. Let this open the heart. We'll take one more 3-part inhale here. Arms reaching in front of you, arms out wide, arms up and above the head, and then exhale, bringing the palms in towards the heart center. Take a big breath in, expanding the heart towards your thumbs as you exhale, chin dropping down to the chest. By our actions, by our breath, by our words, and by our practice, may we know the wholeness that is within and all around us. May we know our place in it. And may all of our thoughts, words, and actions and our practices contribute to that knowing, that holding of oneness within all things. We close with our prayer of service. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.